I was inspired to set the Lily Clara letters in the Wild West because during the pandemic, my family and I, in order to just get out of the house, we took a lot of trips around Utah to visit all of the interesting sites. There's a lot of beautiful natural sites in Utah, but there's also a lot of ghost towns. And so we visited this particular town called Frisco, Utah, and this one had just such a fascinating story attached to it, as well as a really interesting ghost story. And also in Utah, there are some really fascinating legends about treasure and Spanish treasure and Native American treasure and all sorts of things. And so it was really fun to take all of that and kind of melt it into the story that you find in Lily Clara. A lot of time spent reading books written in that time period or about that time period is really helpful to help me kind of get the essence of the language and the tone and the things, topics and whatnot that was important to that time period is really how I do the very best that I can, because of course I'm not ever going to get it accurate 100%, but that's kind of, I try and immerse myself into that time period as much as possible while writing and especially before writing the stories to try and capture that essence as much as possible. It's really a pleasure to do that because I love history and I love historical fiction. So it never feels like work to do that, which is great. Getting the Lily Clara collection designed, I knew that I wanted it to reflect the colors of the time period, which were, I mean, yes, there was the Wild West browns and greens and prairie grass and all those kind of color schemes, but there was also this awakening to these really punchy magentas and hot pinks that they were getting access to these new dyes to be able to dye their clothes. And you see it in women's fashion of the time period. They really loved their really vibrant colors, and I think it's just such a great reflection of the time period. The Wild West and that era was just so full of vibrancy. New things were happening. It was the height of the industrial age. All these things were going on. Women's rights, so many new things taking place, and I feel like the colors really represent what was happening in the time period. And it was also really fun to take Utah's state flower, which is a seagull lily, and make that the kind of the main flower of the story. From there, I will design the motifs, and then I will use the motifs to create all of the materials. A lot of the inserts in our collections are his actual historical pieces from the time period. For example, you'll see a vaudeville poster in Lily Clara, and then there's also these trade cards that were actual trade cards from the time period. And we like to dive into that side of the history. I love to go and explore, especially the public domain images that we have access to put as much of an accurate historical stamp on these collections as possible.